evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Bist, and joining me is co-host Maceo Dill. Well, Maceo, it's been a very interesting weekend of football, not just on the island, because I know you're licking your wounds. Do you want to say anything to the Liverpool fans? Because I know
anything I'm saying, this is my story. I'm sticking to it. Was it a game today, and who played?
Wow.
Was it a game today, and who played? I didn't know that it was a game today.
Oh, there was actually one team showed up. Actually, both teams showed up for the first 45 minutes, but the second 45.
That was wow. But that's an example of, I think, players getting ahead of themselves because they won a trophy and they're young, and you don't come right the next game against Liverpool, they'll smack you. I think that's a perfect example because, I mean, definitely Liverpool's not 7 goals better than Manchester United, but today United didn't come right, and they looked like amateurs. They looked like amateurs after about 65 minutes. They looked like amateurs. And Liverpool, even they're not been in a good space.
Right.
They put 7. They still got they got world-class players. That's an example of class is permanent and form is temporary, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect example. But that was a slamming. That was embarrassing. You hear people like, the old Manchester United players, that was embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's turn our attention to the local front because, as I already indicated, we've had enough ups and downs. And let me just quickly run down the results that we have thus far. Starting off on Thursday night, it was Robin Hood 2, Crossroads 5. Last night at the PHC Stadium, it was PHC Zebras 4, St. George's Colts 0. Today at Bernard Park, it was North Village Rams 0, Boulevard Blazers 0. And over at the BAA field, it was the Dandy Town Hornets 1, Somerset Trojans 2. In the first division, it was BAA last night 0, St. David's 1. Today at Police Field, it was Devonshire Colts 2, Paget Lions 3. At the Wellington Oval, it was Wolves 4, Island Rangers 0. And up at the White Hill Field, it was Somerset Eagles 2, Southampton Rangers 6. Well, we're going to start right off. I know we're going to talk about the Thursday night match. Crossroads, they needed to play a team like Robin Hood to get themselves out of the funk they found themselves in, if only just to get themselves out of that relegation battle. And they took full advantage of it, moving on to 17 points. They're picking up their 5th win of the season and a big win for them. Just talk a little bit about Crossroads and getting themselves out of that danger area.
I mean, this has been their history. This is what they know, right? They every season they're in this situation, and every season they pull off. This is what they know.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge for them is do they impact the league differently? Do they win a trophy at some point? Do they actually finish themselves in the top 4 and they don't have a relegation battle season? But this is what they know. So this is amazing because when you know something, you do it all the time, right? You think it's, and they know this. So it's not new to them. And then they become comfortable with it. I think they become comfortable with being in this circumstance. And once they're in this circumstances, this is what they know. No, their challenge is, that's not something that their coach is going to be comfortable with.
Right.
Because that's not what he knows.
Yes.
That's not what he historically knows in football.
Mm-hmm.
He don't historically know, that I'm going to be fighting a relegation. He knows I want some trophies I like to win.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, if you look at, obviously, Robin Hood probably cannot wait for the season to end. They've already been officially relegated. but just looking at their makeup, I mean, I've talked to a few people, and they've indicated that they will be still in the league. They'll stay in the first division for next season. They're hopefully getting some players to come and play for them. So for them, a new season would generate new life for them. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't. I think it could spell the end of them, right? Regardless of what's being said, it's
Hmm.
just no new players on there, and it's not like there is a legacy at Robin Hood. For like I give you an example. My son didn't grow up in North Village, but North Village has a legacy, and he wanted to be part of it. He wanted to go
Hmm.
back and play for North Village. Robin Hood doesn't have anybody that has that type of legacy and that loyalty to him long
Hmm.
term. Like we know kids that are growing up in places like Robin Hood or growing up in places, these new clubs.
Hmm.
Eventually, they end up what the trend is. They're ended back up at their parent club where their history is, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I don't see a bright spot for them, right? I don't see a bright spot. And then we also know that more and more the trend in Bermuda that kids are leaving the island for school.
Hmm.
So any real capable footballer and any parent that got any sort of means financially, they're putting
Hmm.
their kids. So I don't see a solution for it, right?
Right. 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 Well, let's turn our attention to last night because PHC Zebras, top of the table, were taking on third place St. George's, who were just 2 points behind them. And PHC showed a lot of that experience that you've been talking about for some time, and were able to come away with a 4-0 win. It'd be the third time that they've beaten them this season. They have one more match, and we'll talk about that later. But it's the third time they've beaten them. And I think out of the 3 times, St. George's has only scored 1 goal.
Is the third time I've seen each game. They beat them the same way. And the last time they beat them was 4-0 as well, down in St.
Mm.
George's. They beat them the same way every single time. They beat them the same way. I really, really took a hard look last night at St. George's and how they're set up. They're not got that puzzle together. I mean, I'm going to put this out there. I know the coaches and the players watch this show. I'm going to put it out there from Bermuda. First of all, uh, John Tay Smith is a better player than being a striker. And I actually think if he went to England as a holding midfielder, he would have went much farther in that position because he's highly intelligent as to how he knows how to. So I see him as a Gerard Piqué type of player, the Barcelona player that sits in the midfield, collects the ball, sprays it, and he can get in the box. He can score when he has to. Then they also St. George's is not identified who the best player is and who should have the ball. So, and what I mean by that, we know at PHC Marco Warren's the best player there. And they all know that, and they get him the ball in the areas that he needs. Remember, at the beginning of the season, we talked about Marco not getting the ball in the last third. Now he's
Mm.
getting the ball in the last third. Look what he's making happen. Look at the things that he's making happen. So St. George's has got a confusion between Cash Hall and the kid Malachi Trot.
Mm.
Malachi was the number 10. Cash, to be honest, Cash is the number 10. He's the player the captain should be the player that's farther forward because he's got that killer pass. He's got the killer pass. He can make the pass. Whereas Malachi doesn't have that pass. He doesn't have that final pass that creates the goal and puts the people in certain positions. You know, but what Malachi does here, Malachi breaks up play.
Mm.
He wins balls. So he could be the deeper midfielder or he can be a right back. So it's so many pieces of the puzzle that not got right to make their team more efficient because they dominated the game for a large period of the time, the first half. And once they went 1-0 down, they have a PB mindset, meaning that okay, the first person that scores wins.
Mm.
They collapsed emotionally at 1-0 down, and then they got a spanking, and PAC spanked them without getting out of third gear. PAC
Mm.
didn't even get out of third gear. Whereas on the reverse, and I want to really dive deep into on the reverse. PAC put their puzzle together right based on what they got.
Mm.
So even though their striker right now is not really hitting the back of the net and is missing a few chances, but he does a lot more. He does a lot more as to how he brings people into the game, how he threatens defense, how he keeps the defense honest. He does a lot more. And whereas even though Jonte had this international experience, he is not looking so threatening, and it's because of just how St. George's is set up. They're set up very, very wrong. They're set up very wrong, and they lost to PHC the same way. And just so Bermuda knows, when I analyze a striker, remember, a striker is waiting for people to feed him the ball.
Right.
So I think, let's analyze 3 people that play strikers. Jonte plays striker. The guy Simmons, Paul Simons plays striker, and then you got Donovan Thompson. 3 different types of players that are playing striker. Now, out of those 3, I think Donovan Thompson is actually the striker. He wants nothing to do with the ball on the halfway line. He approaches anything that comes in the goal. He runs for lost causes. He dreams about goals. He wants goals. Now, Paul, as well as Jonte, they do so much more other stuff for the team that they need to be more influential in the whole part of the game. Jonte is always dropping back deep to do certain things or to do, whereas Paul does the same thing. So I just don't think, and PAT got away with using Paul as a striker in Bermuda. They do get away with it, and they're got based on what they have. So, it's more efficient for them because PAT got away with it because they got Marco Warren and how they're set up behind him. And St. George's don't get away with it because of how they're set up behind them. They're not set up right down St. George's.
Yeah. Well, with that particular win, PHC now move on to 39 points. As we know, Devonshire Cougars are in action in about 15 minutes against Hamilton Parish out at the Devonshire Recreation Club. They've got a 4-point lead over Devonshire Cougars right now. St. George's remain on 34, 5 points behind PHC. With only 2 games to go, barring a miracle, that result last night pretty much ended their title hopes.
Because St. George's got to play North Village. Yeah, and you can see St. George's. You can see they were out of their comfort. They're like, oh, we're as a club, as an organization, we're here to be in. It's an expectation to be in. They're out of their comfort. They're out of their comfort, and they need to learn from that. All right,
sure. And
they need to figure out, just like PAC had to figure out. They need to figure out how Cashel plays farther forward. How does he play farther forward? How do you get him the ball in the last third? And he starts picking teams apart. Right now, he's the one that's sacrificing and playing deeper for the team. He's the one that has the final pass. He has the final pass. He sees how the game connects.
Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking the matches today. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this? John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Buy Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Vi delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Vi are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Well, welcome back. Let me see. Out at Bernard Park, the North Village Rams already knew that PHC had defeated St. George's 4-0 last night, and nothing short of a victory against Boulevard would have kept them in the title race. But they ended up with a 0-0 draw with Boulevard Blazers that leave them on 34 points, the same amount of points as St. George's. St. George's stay in third due to goal leverage, but another team pretty much eliminated, because with only 2 games to go, they would need a miracle because you got 2 teams in front of you in PHC leaders and Devonshire Cougars.
Yeah, not surprising, right? Not surprising. We're talked about North Village just not being there. They're just only been capable of hanging around. They're not been capable of winning titles. So not surprising at all. The only surprise for me was that Boulevard didn't beat them. I thought Boulevard would have had a bit of something about them to actually beat North Village. Boulevard's pretty much signed their death warrant now as well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, not surprising. Both of these teams have not been really good enough.
Right.
These clubs have not really been good enough.
I mean, I watched the first 45 minutes of this particular match, and I evaluating Boulevard, I think they gave a good account of themselves. At times, lacking organization. However, individual players, showed a lot of character, a lot of skill. But as a team, collectively, they need a lot of they need to come together. They were letting balls go. A regular pass turned into a nightmare sometimes. Man, I was kind of concerned for them. You there? I think he's frozen. But yeah, in the end, it was a 0-0 draw. Let's see if he comes back. See if he's connecting. No. What we'll do, we take another commercial break, and hopefully we'll get him back. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. I see you're back, Mason. Yeah. I was saying that the final passes for Boulevard just wasn't there. I mean, like I said, they have these very skillful players, but as a unit, it just did not work together.
Well, you know what? If we had to play 2-on-2 football, we'll probably win the World Cup. If football was 2v2, 3v3, I would pretty much bet on Bermuda to win a World Cup.
Mm.
But football is not like that. So we have these very good individuals, technical individuals, but we don't have a team.
Mm.
You know, and North Village is probably the best example of a team because I don't think they have good enough players right now, but they've been coached in a manner of from a team perspective, you know, and that's the only reason they've been able to hang in this season. They've been able to hang in this season because of some level of organization, you know. So you see, they couldn't score today because they don't have good enough attacking players, but they didn't give up a goal against good enough attacking players, you know. So, but that's the story of us generally as a football nation. We both good individuals. You know, we have individuals that can get into England. Sean Goda, Carl Lightbourne, Remy Cotterton, Nikhil House. But that doesn't translate into a good team for us yet. We're not done that yet. We're not built good teams just yet.
Yeah, yeah. Then over at the BAA field, where reports have suggested that unfortunately Scott Morton, due to health, has tendered his resignation at Somerset. Somerset are yet to confirm that. However, we do expect that to come in the next few days or two. And we want to wish Scott all the best and back to good health as soon as possible. And with that, Somerset responded, defeating Dandenong 2-1.
That's interesting, right? That's interesting. And I'm going to analyze Scott not being there. And I wish Scott the best up there. I was actually wondering if he'll last the season there. You know, I was wondering if he'll put himself through that. You know, and what people don't know about coaching, it's a very, very stressful job.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know that. And that's worldwide. If you go, we don't speak of it even on the world stage. Like if you see coaches that had heart conditions and stress conditions, you know, all those things come with coaching because you got everything going on. We glorify the good parts of it, but the world doesn't speak about the other parts of it that happen. Like I'm a happier person that I'm not coaching. You know, I'm less stressed. I cycle. I look at birds, whatever. But if we analyze Scott not being there, Summers is probably going back into what's comfortable for him. And what's comfortable for him is getting them and is helping them get these type of results. We already know Scott was bringing something different to Somerset. And what's comfortable for Somerset is not necessarily going to get them back to the level of winning what they want.
Right.
You know, but this is what's comfortable for them. You know, so I'm a bit surprised anytime that happened. I'm a bit surprised that it happened. But you know, Dannyton's only prepared to get up for certain games.
Right. Well, you did mention that last week that they only look to get up for certain games and
they get up for Boulevard, get up for North Village, they get up for Cougars.
Right.
They ain't interested in getting up for Somerset.
Well, they know they're safe, but I know that a club like Dandenong want to finish as high as possible. The highest they can finish is fifth, but they have right on the horizon right now. They have Hamilton Parish, who, if they were able to beat Devonshire Cougars this evening, they would go above them. So, I mean, you know, at some point in time, we talked about, you know, them losing their coach. We talked about the players having to come together. You know, a lot of things have happened at the club this year that, you know, another club wishing that the season would have end.
Yeah, I mean, they had to have Devar back out there, and I know Devar don't want to be out there. I know that's not the position that he wants to take on because, again, you start to look at health-wise. If you got to be president, you got to do this, you got to coach. That is too much.
Yeah,
I've been a club man for a long time. I know what it looks like. We have to get people doing their positions, and you know, doing one position very good. once you start asking and people needing to do more than one position, we're asking a lot. We're asking a lot of people to do that. And that's one thing when I was coaching at North Village or, running the youth program, that I was insistent on having the staff so I didn't have to do double and triple jobs. And having the staff around me is what made the success in both the junior program as well as the senior program. Having that staff around me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, both teams, if you now look at it, Dandytown on 22 points. Somerset moved on to 16. They're 5 points ahead of Boulevard. And pretty much, I mean, it's 2 games left for Boulevard. They most they can get is 17 points. That puts them tied with Crossroads, but that means they have to win these 2 games and hope that Somerset lose 2 games.
And Boulevard's last 2 games against who?
Okay, so their next game, their game next week is against the Somerset Trojans at BAA Field.
That could be interesting.
Yes.
I mean, we're not to the picks. I wouldn't be surprised Boulevard beat them and just make it interesting for the last week, right?
Well, that would actually be considered the game of the week.
Yeah.
PAC played Dandytown, St. George's played Crossroads, and then, the other game of the week would be North Village and Devonshire Cougars. Can North Village ruin Devonshire Cougars' hopes?
Yeah.
And North Village are home. So that, it does make it interesting, but I think a lot of people, those 2 particular clubs, Boulevard and Somerset, and remember, Boulevard were able to get promoted in the last 2 weeks of last season. Remember, they won their last 2 games and they defeated BAA on the last game of the season to actually overtake them and get that promotion spot. So they all know they're in a dogfight for that final position, and the only way to do it, they first have to beat Somerset.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me that they got the backside to it, but I think Boulevard's not going to pull out of it, man. Overall, I always have this conversation that football don't lie, right? And how Boulevard has approached the season and what's going on with them away from football, away from preparation, they're not, they have been relegation material. Somerset invested in Scott Morton. They won a trophy early in the season. They was trying to make some preparation. They was trying to do some correct things to push them forward. So I think Boulevard's just kind of worse off than them right now. They're worse off than them. And football don't lie. At the end of the day, it equals itself out. So it wouldn't be, if Boulevard were relegated, it wouldn't be by any surprise. It would be hard done if Somerset was relegated this year.
All right, so let me ask you, where does Boulevard go from here as far as a coach?
Well, interesting enough, you had the conversation last week with the BFA officials and with the clubs voting to not, coaches doesn't need qualifications these days. So that while I think that is ludicrous, I actually think it's 50 years in the wrong direction for football, but that opens up the door for Boulevard to just have the brethren coach them. That opens up the door for anybody in the neighborhood to take up the mantle and coach Boulevard, which would happen, right? It would happen. Some of the mates, some of the brethren would coach Boulevard, and wouldn't be a recognized coach with recognized qualifications or been through the process of coaching. So that's what would happen.
Same question. Somerset Trojans. Same question. Where do they look next?
I think Somerset want to do the right things as a club. I actually think they want to start doing the right things in structuring their club, structuring their football. you potentially, it depends on who wants to do that job up there, right? You have the ex-president that's up there, Peanut.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with what Marie said. He's a national score coach. He's not had no real experience, and he's coaching at the elite level, which I think they should at least get some experience at the local level and prove that they're capable of doing 11-a-side football at the local level. I don't see anywhere in the world that you come out of coaching course and you become a national team or national program coach. That doesn't happen anywhere in the world. It doesn't happen. That's not, you don't pick people out of a course to be a national coach. But here's one that might want to test this out there at that level. I think they will have more of a selection of people, and also their assistant coach Jensen, that's there. That's probably taking over what now. I think that could also be a natural progression for him. I saw what
he does have those seasons under his belt from Somerset Eagles.
Yeah, he does have those seasons on his belt. He's had some hard knocks. He's obviously learned a few things, and I think it was always probably in the plan that you put him around Scott Morton, and he learned and he picks up some things that he can now grow himself. So I think it would be less of a challenge for Somerset than it would for Boulevard, right? I think Somerset definitely will be all right. Yeah.
Well, let's take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more. We'll look at the first division, which is heated right up. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, Maceo, last night, BAA had the opportunity to take full command of the first division, and they fell short. They went down 1-0 to St. David's. We joked last week that St. David's would let Andrew Ryan, helping the ugly Billy boy, but not the case. A first half goal was the early goal of the game, and it puts BAA in a very, very difficult position now because they find themselves in third place. Third place, 1 point behind Wolves, who are in second, and 2 points behind Paget, who are in first. And everybody's played 14 games. So just think about it. I mean, this will be, if they're unsuccessful, this will be the second straight year that they put themselves in position to be promoted and yet again fall short.
we had this conversation, right, about youngsters,
Mhm.
and putting them in positions that they're quite just not ready for yet. The brain's just not developed to be, their muscles are not developed. When you're talking about 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, they're just not there. I mean, they're not there. So when you look at BA, we know BA has got Bermuda's best coach, right? We know that, and the results and the history dictates that, he's been our most successful, our most organized coach. And while this is the best coach that you want for these youngsters, they're just not there. I've talked to a few of the BA players, the older ones, the more experienced ones. And when I say older, more experienced, I'm really talking about somebody 24 years old.
Mm.
And he acknowledged that the youngsters are starting to feel the pressure.
Mm.
He acknowledges they're starting to feel the pressure, and with that pressure, and something that they're not been used to, because they're not been used to that pressure, this is something new for them. And that makes me reflect on, okay, we haven't developed them under pressure. Kenny Thompson used to always say this: we need to develop under pressure. So that's not a new thing to us.
Mm.
So Kenny Thompson speaks of having a league in Bermuda at under 8 years old. Somebody wins, somebody loses. But we need to have decent enough coaches and decent enough rules and structure to promote that, because somebody should be under pressure. We need to develop under pressure. So when we get to a certain point in that we're used to what pressure is. And right now those kids are not used to what pressure is.
Mm.
And it's showing up, because they should beat St. Davis. They should beat the Billy Bronx.
It starts out Neil, man. The team that puts the ball in the back of the net the most.
Yeah, they should be able to overcome from their record and what they've done in this season. They should have beat that should have been a box ticket.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And now, they're not going to be favorites to be promoted. How do they deal with this, right?
Mm-hmm. Fair question. Does BA really want to come up? I'm pretty sure those young men want to come up because they want to prove themselves.
It is a fair question, right? It's a fair question. And I know BA is going to lose maybe 7 or 8 of those players next year to schooling opportunities, and they're going to have to refresh again. But I'm not going to suggest that BA is throwing a game.
During the game,
yeah. I'm not going to suggest that the games are to be won, and they're not going to try to win it. I think the latter is happening, where the pressure is kind of Yeah,
definitely. Well, the all-important game for Paget leading into their FA Cup semifinal, they took on Devonshire Colts at Police Field, and I saw a bit of this game as well. Dion Stubb was back out. Antoine Russell played. They had their regulars out. I was kind of surprised, but not, because I think, as the president has told me on several occasions, they want to get promoted. So the emphasis will be on the league. Anything else is a bonus. And they'll look at Thursday night now that this game is finished, and now they find themselves in first place in the first division, 1 point ahead of Wolves. They could now, actually, their destiny is now in their hands. If they win out, they get promoted plus winning the league. An opportunity to take 3 trophies if they are successful in the semifinals of the FA midweek.
It's quite possible. Paget could be the Triple Crown champions this year. It's quite possible.
I wouldn't go order it for a long time.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've had various conversations with the Paget faithful.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting enough, because they haven't won or seen success for a long time, this means more to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It means a lot to that neighborhood. It means a lot to that area, and that energy that can be put behind such project is real, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's real, that energy and that responsibility. Yeah, that responsibility and I think they will get promoted because I don't see anybody in their division beating them. And I said it before, in the FA semifinals, if they get North Village, that's the best chance of winning because they can score. They can break down a North Village and score goals.
Right.
You know, now can North Village, the problem is, can they stop North Village from scoring? And Paget have a mentality that, okay, I think Paget accept they're giving up 2 goals. I really think they accept that. So they'll score 3 and 4. You know, I think they accept that. You know, then the goalkeeper is not got the best of experience, you know, but he's doing the best that he can. I've seen him. He's doing the best that he can, you know, but you and I know when you're not got a recognized goalkeeper, what that looks like. You know, that's a problem when you're not got to recognize.
But interesting how you make that point. They're giving up 2 goals a game against first division opponents. Can they hold it to 2 against a Premier Division opponent?
Well, the players that Paget have are not they're Premier League players. They're the most. Anton Russell is the most experienced player in Bermuda. Deon Stovall has, you know, arguably, even though he's not won a whole lot, is arguably one of Bermuda's better footballers. He can deal with pressure. They're both axed back out from PHC, the left footer. You know, he's experienced. You know, these guys have experience. They have the better players in Bermuda. So although they're not playing in the Premier Division, they can on a good day, they can beat every Premier League team here. And, you know, they can beat North Village. You know, the only team that I couldn't see them beating. I couldn't see Paget beating a PHC. I can see them beating the St. George's. I can see them beating the North Village. I can't see them beating the PHC or Devonshire Cougars.
Well, last week you said the only team they can beat is North Village. But I guess you changed your mind after St. George's performance.
After I saw St. George's, St. George's is. I told him last night. I told St. George's, you know, I told St. George's, say, look, just go get the cup match pitch ready again. Like, go get the cup match pitch ready. You can win the football trophies. Go get. After I saw what St. George's done last night, you know, I'm like, yeah.
Well, down at Wellington Oval, Wolves knew they played Island Rangers, but they knew they had to win. And one of the things that they would have been looking to do is also improve that goal leverage that they had. They came away with a 4-0 win, move on to 29 points, 1 point behind Paget. I mean, as expected, they beat a team, Island Rangers, who has been heading south. They've won 3 games this year, but lost 11. Where believe it or not, Paget, Wolves, and BA have all won 9 games. The problem is, Paget has 3 draws, Wolves have 2, BA has 1, where Paget's lost twice, Wolves have lost 3 times, and with Saturday night's loss, BA have lost 4 times. So, I mean, this race here is just as hot, if not even hotter, than the first division, because 2 teams go up, and if I throw in Young Man Social Club, who are 1 point behind BAA, a victory for Social Club puts them level on points with Paget, and I can't wait to tell you who Paget played on Sunday. A barn burner.
Oh yeah.
The Spider.
Yeah. It's going to get interesting. The dynamics of it is very, very interesting for sure.
Yes. Yeah. We wouldn't have forgotten Rock.
No,
yeah.
we definitely haven't forgotten Rock. That's why after I looked at Paget, you know, and saw what the players, the established players that they have, the defense that they have, I realized the reason they're giving up goals because of the goalkeeper. You know, Rock is very experienced down there. I mean, he's played with PHC. You know, he's played football at North Village, so he's definitely not forgotten him. You know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I spoke to him, you know, just a loose conversation before the season started, And I was talking to him about why he went to Paget as opposed to not staying at PAC. And he said he couldn't commit. He couldn't commit to the training schedule because of his work commitments. Now, what happens over the summer if Paget get promoted?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the nice words they give you that I can't commit. Those are the nice words the players give you.
Sure.
When they're not, when they're talking to the media. Those boys that Rock comes from that area. He comes from the area. Paget talked about a project going on. He committed to that project. And we talked about it early, right? Eventually, people go back to where their home is, I mean, those would be his baits around that area, and he was lured in by the project. He was lured in. I mean, when he was younger, his mom had him at North Village, and he got good development at North Village. North Village was structured at the end. He also got further good development at PAC, but he's been lured back to where he originates from, right? And the project would have lured him back, and he's going to have to readjust that commitment next year if they get promoted or when they get promoted.
Sure. And then the final first division match, Somerset Eagles went down 6-2 to Southampton Rangers up at Whitehill Field. No surprise to the result because we all picked Southampton Rangers to win the game. But again, this end of this season, Somerset Eagles need to regroup and figure out what's their next move as far as moving forward to the next season. Again, I always say this. I mean, I even commended back in the day, Social Club and Island Rangers when they were giving up over 100 goals a season, but they kept playing. I was like, no. When do you get tired of taking 100 goals?
Jesus, 100 goals. I don't even want to have that conversation, man. I don't want to have that conversation, man. The sore loser behavior that I am, man. Come on. I couldn't have that. I couldn't have that conversation of 100 goals, man.
So when did your sore loser behavior kick in today?
Yeah.
At 3 or at 4?
I start cleaning my house at 3. I start watching the game, just listening to it. I start doing housework afterwards.
Liverpool drove you to clean your house?
Yeah. I start washing my clothes. I'm not really a good loser, man. I'm really not. Yeah.
All right. Let me come back. We're going to take our final commercial break. When we come back, we'll look at our picks and we'll look at the players of the week. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Putting down the weapons.
And welcome back. Well, let's just run through the picks, starting with Thursday night. We all took Crossroads to defeat Robin Hood. And then for last night, Maceo, you were the only one to take PHC to defeat St. George's. And PHC did so 4-0. We all took the Dennytown Hornets to defeat Somerset Trojans, and we know Somerset won that 2-1. We all took North Village, with the exception of you, Maceo. You took Boulevard, but both teams ended in a scoreless draw. And of course, right now, the Devonshire Cougars and Hamilton Parish have taken to the field out at the Devonshire Rec. In the first division, we all took BAA, and we know they lost 1-0 to St. David's. We all took Southampton Rangers to defeat Somerset Eagles, and Southampton Rangers did so 6-2. We all took Wolves to defeat Island Rangers, and it was Punchy and Maceo took Paget. Myself and Coach Kita took a draw for the Devonshire Colts Paget Lions match, and of course we know that Paget won that 3-2. So in the end, it was myself getting, what is this? 1, 2, 3. I got 3. Maceo, you got 5. Coach Kita got 3 as well. And Punchy would have gotten 3 as well. So, yes, that's all.
Made up a little ground.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot of ground to make up.
A lot of ground to make up.
A lot of ground to make up. But, yeah. So I've moved to 120. Punchy's on 109. Maceo, you've moved to 113. 2 weeks left. You got to make those changes. And Coach Kita moved to 110. So there we have it. And with the game, if Devonshire Cougars playing Hamilton Parish, we've all taken Devonshire Cougars for that match. Now, it's just you and I, and we'll have to get back with Punchy and Coach Kita. So I'm going to start with you for the first game. On Wednesday night out at the Devonshire Recreation Club, it's FA Cup semifinals. PHC Zebras, St. George's Colts.
PHC. They're going to beat them the same way again. I don't see St. George's Colts within a week figuring themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it keeps showing up at each point that they're supposed to win to prove that they belong. They don't do it,
Right.
and that becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
Becomes a pattern, and I ain't seen them change anything to say that pattern's not going to change. And PHC, on the other hand, they didn't panic. They didn't panic when they was being outplayed. And to be honest, when they was being outplayed, St. George's weren't really threatening their goal. Cash hit the post from distance. That was it. And then when PHC struck, PHC put in a very professional performance. And I wanted to talk about this. The goal that Marco Warren scored the other day up there, man, from the corner. He scored from a corner, a high level of intelligence to use to win, and the outside of his foot. There was a debate whether he meant it or not, but if people were following the game, Marco Warren took a free kick from about maybe 50 yards out that he tested what the wind done. He tested the element. He tested the element with the free kick, and then when he took the corner, he perfected it. He perfected it. Again, PHC's figured out who the best player is, and it's just called respect. This is my best player. He's got to influence the game. I've got to do the work so he can influence the game. And I keep going back to the boy,
Paul Simons?
No, the holding midfielder. Dion. Not Dion. It's not named Dion. His name his a Lodge.
Yes.
Lodge. The guy plays correctly. Nobody talks about him. He plays correctly. He does everything correct. I watched him. I said, well, let me see how much times he gives the ball away. He gave the ball away once in 90 minutes. He breaks it up. He makes the correct pass. he does his job.
Mm. Mm. Well, after the 3, I would say, lessons that PHC have handed St. George's, I have no other choice but to give PHC to win this game because I have to agree. I mean, St. George's have yet to figure out PHC this year. They as well as they've played, each time they've met them, they've been outscored by
Yeah,
two or three goals.
Yeah, they're not figured out PHC, and they're not figured themselves out yet either.
So I'm taking PHC as well. Then on Thursday night, up at the PHC Stadium, North Village Rams and Paget Lions. I'm going to take North Village. And the only reason I'm taking North Village because of the fact that they have been playing at just a higher level than Paget. Paget, I'm expecting to raise their game. However, they're constantly giving up those goals, and I'm pretty sure that Kenny will figure a way to add more than 2 on this particular night. So I'm taking North Village.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Paget for this. I'm gonna take Paget. Couple reasons I'm taking Paget. They have the strike force to trouble North Village. You know, if that Corona League team troubled North Village and took North Village to a while, Paget definitely have the ability to trouble North Village. Yeah. The other reason I'm going to take him because I'm going against you, so I can try to make up some points. No, I ain't going for the draw, man. I ain't going for the draw.
Okay, all right.
I'm not one of those coaches that play for a draw, man. I have to win or lose.
Well, this next game, we'll definitely pick the same team. That's for sure. You're going first. Hamilton Parish play Robin Hood.
Hamilton Parish, yeah. I'm not. Yeah. I ain't stupid. At least I don't think I am. People, maybe somebody else thinks I am, but I don't think I am.
And I'm taking Hamilton Parish as well. Then, well, I'm up first this time. PHC are taking on the Dendy Town Hornets. I'm actually going to take PHC on this because after their FA Cup game, they'll turn their attention back on, and I know they really want to win the league as well. They're going to want to end the season with 3 trophies, and I think after the victory over St. George's, they're not going to underestimate Dendy Town despite their troubles this year. So I'm going to take PHC.
PHC as well, and they rotated their players quite well. You know, PHC were missing their left back the other night, and that was a noticeable missing. When he was missing, he'll come back in because he had cards. So PHC.
Okay. Now, this one here, you're up first. Boulevard Blazers entertain Somerset Trojans.
Boulevard's gonna beat Somerset. Boulevard. They're gonna make it interesting. Somerset's gonna have to win their last game.
I'm gonna give you an opportunity to get another one. I'm gonna take Somerset.
Yeah.
I think Somerset now, as you said before, the players are now probably set back into a way how they
do stuff.
Yeah. It's not that real high pressure anymore. Not saying that whoever's coaching them right now isn't doing the same thing, but you know how Scott demands so much more.
And they would not be used to that yet.
Right. So I'm going to take Somerset to win that. Next game, St. George's Colts versus Crossroads. I'm actually going to take St. George only because after losing against PHC last night, and if they lose again, the only thing they have to play for is to see how high they can come up in the standings. And this is their opportunity to finish as 3rd place. So understanding that, I'm going to take St. George.
Yeah, they'll beat this game. All the games that they're supposed to beat, they'll beat. They'll beat this game. St. George's too.
Okay. And the final Premier Division game, North Village entertain Devonshire Cougars.
Yeah, Cougars will beat North Village. Cougars are the league going to go down. PHC is going to have to win. They're going to have to win to win the league. That's just how it works. And Cougars is going to beat North Village.
Okay. I'm actually going to take Devonshire Cougars as well because I think they have that one edge that they're still fighting for that title spot. So, and believe it or not, I just think that they're going to be too much of a handful for Hamilton Parish this evening as well, because what's on the line. If they don't get points out of tonight, the season, the league's almost, you might as well, put it to bed that PHC will be the champions.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go to the first division. Southampton Rangers take on St. David's. Two teams
Rangers,
that-
I'm taking Rangers. For the,
Well, I'm first, man.
oh,
Take it easy.
sorry.
Yeah. Well, with only 2 or 3 games left, both teams will now be getting ready for cricket season. So I'll take Rangers as I ain't even sure if they're going to have a cricket team. Yeah, so you're taking Rangers as well?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're up first in this one. Devonshire Colts take on Social Club. Remember, Social Club's not out of it.
Social Club's you looking for promotion. Social Club.
Yeah. Because of victory, and if things go their way, they could pop right in there. So I'm taking Social Club as well. Yeah, I'm up first. Wolves to beat Somerset Eagles at Whitehill. I'm taking Wolves.
Yeah, Wolves will beat Somerset Eagles. Wolves has got themselves in total position to get promoted.
Okay, you're up first in this final game. This one says who wins the league. Paget Lions entertain BAA.
Yeah, Paget would take BA. Yeah, Paget's just more capable of this circumstance. More capable of this circumstance. They're not gonna worry. They're not gonna overthink it. They're not gonna panic. Paget would take BA.
And I think I'm
trouble.
gonna take Paget as well, only because I think they're gonna want to prove to BAA that win after they lost to them earlier in the season, and then they beat them right behind that. They're going to want to prove to them that win for BAA was a rare thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to take Paget to win this match, just to say to the young man, listen, you're good, but you're going to have to take your time.
Yeah, you're not ready yet.
Yeah, you're going to have to take your time. So, yeah. Well, Maceo, we had 2 players, 2 weeks in a row that we had the player of the week, and we got to finally get those 2 to the presentation at Gosden. So here's the presentation for 2 weeks ago and last week, of players of the week. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ethan Phillip here for Gosden's Rum, and I'm here with Blaze Hall. He's done a fantastic job helping his team reach the semifinals for the FA Cup. And as his reward, we're giving him a bottle of Flora Gold. So here you go, mate.
Thank you.
And congrats on the job well done. And keep it up, man.
Thanks.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ethan Phillip here for Gosden's Rum, and I'm here with Janico Seeley. Janico has done a fantastic job in his last few games. So as his reward, playing for PHC, we're giving him a bottle of Flora Gold as his congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. Yo, go on, enjoy the game.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Now, there you go. Hey, we got a comment. Paget are going to be zebras for the United Against Village at home. It's only the start, mate. Trust me, it is only the start. Only the start. But just thinking about it, let's dabble into these FA Cup, because as we know, sometimes it's a hit or miss. It depends on what state of mind you come into, how you're looking at it. So, I mean, the 2 top teams of winning this trophy are in a semifinal against teams that obviously St. George's has never been to the final. What's that?
They want to build their history.
Yeah. And Paget will want to make a statement. So if you look at it, both the two teams that we did not pick. Well, you picked Paget. I didn't pick Paget, but those two teams will come out that night with a chip on their shoulder, without a doubt. It's how long can they sustain it?
Yeah, you got to look at the mentality of Paget players. They have a big personality mentality. They would like nothing better than to win the FA Cup as a Division II club and tell you all that is no difference. They would like nothing better than to prove that to you. You know, and when you look at player for player, they have recognized players. They have very recognized players across the board. Paget have better players than North Village have. And North Village players are going to know that. And that's going to be an intimidation factor for them, going in against a Paget. You know, and North Village is not the club that they can right now that they can rely on that, well, we are North Village and we'll beat you. You know, they're not in that position. They're not in that time frame. And North Village is going to, because North Village is not a high pressing team or aggressive team, doesn't allow Paget to play more. And from them allowing Paget to play more is going to be well for Paget. Whereas PHC or St. George's wouldn't really allow Paget to play, right? They'll press them, and they got younger players. Like I saw last night with PHC, St. George's was pressing Marco Warren. There's young players will say, I don't care if you're Marco. I'm coming. I'm pressing the ball. I'm taking it from you. But North Village is not going to do that to Paget. They're going to say, oh, this is Antoine. Okay, the Messiah, you have the ball. It's okay. And Antoine will pick you apart like that. Okay, the unstoppable. Like, I'm going to, we're going to respect you a little bit more. And they North Village did that to Keishan Bean and Rolf Bean and Keith Janis. They did that to those type of players.
Wow. I saw Devin Coast back off from the Unstoppable this afternoon, and he unleashed a shot. By the time the goalkeeper dove across, the ball hit the back bar of the goal and was bouncing back out.
Exactly my point, right? Exactly my point.
You can't give them any space. So, but again, I mean, if you look at it, Kenny always seems to come up with a plan, and I'm pretty sure they'll have a solid plan for Thursday night. So it should be a very interesting game.
His reputation's on the line. His reputation's on the line, man.
Well, all right, Maceo. Well, you have a good night. I guess you will be able to see what happens Wednesday, Thursday, and any weekend. We'll be back next Sunday night with another edition of the Honest Dad Football Show. Folks, enjoy your night.
Cool.